You've got to love college football. What a week 6 was. What a season it has been already. We've already seen, it feels like we've already seen a season's worth of big moments, and we're not even halfway through the season. Just a crazy week 6. The upsets, the surprises, the close games, the great games, the comebacks. It was just crazy. I know that term, that year, 2007, gets thrown around a lot. I think we are back in 2007. That's what it feels like. And it's with a 12-team playoff. It's been a crazy season already. Now, is that going to continue, or are things going to settle down? We'll see. But here are my 5 takeaways from week 6. And our first takeaway. So this is the exact same takeaway I had last week. This was in the video last week. Any Power 4 team can beat any Power 4 team. And you see, I put any in all caps this time because it's literally any Power 4 team. So I said that last week, and I still in the back of my mind, I think, well, maybe not any. Maybe not like Vanderbilt beating Alabama. And what did we see this week? Vanderbilt beating Alabama. What a shocker that one was. And so now I am saying it. Any Power 4 team can beat any Power 4 team. Houston has looked terrible. They beat TCU. We just saw so many upsets, this is the hardest season to predict. I think if you're trying to make predictions week to week, just forget about it. I mean, there's no telling how much money Vegas is making this year because it's just so hard to predict college football. But let's talk about that Alabama game first. It was just a shocker. I didn't see it coming. And as you saw the game go on and on and on, and you thought Vanderbilt, are they actually going to be able to do this? You start believing maybe Vanderbilt can actually do this. And then when it was, I think, 23-21, that's when you think, well, Alabama's going to settle in. They're going to dominate the second half. But Diego Pavia would not let his team lose. I mean, he just would not let them lose. The clutch throws that he made, the 4th and 1 throw to the end zone, the runs that he made, I mean, it was just incredible. And look, I'm an Auburn fan. I very much enjoyed this game. I'll admit it. But I also know about Diego Pavia from last year with New Mexico State. I mean, this kid can ball, and he showed that here in this game. And so, I mean, where do you go from here? Just looking at the big picture, Alabama, they've got a loss now where we thought, well, if they lose to Georgia, it's going to be tough maybe with their schedule to get to the playoff. But they beat Georgia, so they think, well, they're locked in. And then they lose to Vanderbilt, so that kind of cancels out. So we could see some multiple 3-loss teams in the playoff the way this season is shaping up so far. But yeah, the big point here is any Power 4 team. Let's just go ahead and go to the next one because this kind of all goes together. The SEC is wide open, so let's just talk about Arkansas and what they did to Tennessee. I don't have any explanation for it. It's college football is just amazing. It's just amazing. You never know what you're going to get. Upsets happen all the time, and we saw another one here with this game. Their quarterback goes down. Taylor Green going down late in the game. They bring in the backup, really limited on offense, and their defense just did enough to keep them in the game. They made some plays there at the end, and they were able to win it. I mean, like, what do you even say? It was just a crazy Saturday, and we'll stick to the SEC here. I mean, explain to me how Texas A&M goes out there and beats Missouri by what, like 40 points or I don't remember the score, but I mean, they completely dominated that game. And I know Missouri had a couple of calls go against them early in the game, and if those 2 calls don't go against them, then maybe that game is closer. But Texas A&M was not going to lose this game. I mean, they clearly were the better team. Connor Wigman back at quarterback. There was all this talk about, they found their guy. Marcel Reed's going to be the quarterback. Like, I never thought that because I was never, he did solid coming in there, but I never thought that he gave them what Connor Wigman gives them. I mean, I don't know why people are down on him. From what I've seen from him, he's a very good quarterback. He can throw the football, and I think with him in there, Texas A&M definitely enters into that playoff conversation. So now you've got the only undefeated team in the SEC. That's Texas. And they've got a really favorable schedule. So you really like Texas and their path to get to Atlanta. But who will they play? I mean, I have no idea. Georgia has a really tough schedule. Alabama has some tough games coming up. Could Texas A&M be that team? Now that Tennessee's lost to Arkansas, they still got to play Georgia on the road. Texas A&M, could we potentially get Texas A&M? And then again the next week in the SEC Championship. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. Of course, we'll do our updated playoff predictions later this week. So I got to sit down and really look at these schedules and try to figure out what direction I'm going to go with my updated predictions. It's just insanity, and the SEC definitely is right there. The SEC and the Big 12, those two conferences have really been up in the air so far. We really just don't know what to expect in those two conferences. I don't really have a takeaway in the Big 12 this week. It was kind of a quiet week in the Big 12. So, yeah, no real mention of the Big 12. But what about West Virginia beating? I mean, who saw them going on the road and dominating against Oklahoma State? I mean, maybe you thought they'd win, but I tell you what, it's just I'm at a loss for words on a lot of this, and maybe you can tell that. I really don't know what to say. It's just buckle up and enjoy the ride. That's all I can say. But let's continue on here. We'll go to the Big Ten now. It seems like Oregon and Ohio State, they very well could be set up for the first of two matchups. So they play this coming Saturday. But these two teams, preseason, we expected them to be the teams at the top of the Big Ten. And it's starting to look like they've settled in, and they are the teams we thought they would be. USC is not the team that we thought maybe they were going to be after what they did against LSU. Now USC looks more like what I expected them to be. Michigan does not look like a contender. Penn State, I don't know. They're kind of, to me, they're in between. I don't think they're quite on Ohio State and Oregon's level, but I think they're definitely better than the rest of the teams. I don't know about that offense. We saw it against West Virginia. They kind of opened it up. They throw the football. It looked really good. And now it's kind of like they're back to that old. I know they're more creative on offense and they're doing all this stuff, but just the downfield passing attack that I think you need to win the Big Ten and potentially make a run in the playoff. I don't know if it's there, and maybe they're being conservative. Again, I don't know. So again, Oregon, they finally look like they've settled in. Oregon and Ohio State both they get off to slow starts though, don't they? And then they turn it on in the second half. That's really what happened to Ohio State. I just look at the weapons that these two teams have. At running back and wide receiver, they just keep coming at you, and you just can't stop it all game. You maybe can stop it for a little bit. Both quarterbacks have been solid, but I don't know if either one of these quarterbacks is going out there and winning you a football game. But they've got so many weapons around them, so much talent on defense. I cannot wait for that game on Saturday. And again, I think it's very possible that that's going to be the first of two matchups between these two teams. All right, let's move on now to the ACC. SMU enters the ACC contender conversation after their win over Louisville. I tell you what, you look at their schedule, they may not lose another game. And maybe they lose one, but one loss, they've got a great shot with one loss to be in the ACC championship. They might not actually get in, though. I mean, I don't think they played, if I remember right, they don't play. I just looked at this. I don't believe they played Clemson or Miami, and Clemson and Miami don't play each other. So you could have, well, I tell you what, we could have a three-way tie with three undefeated teams in conference play. I don't know what, I mean, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to see what happens in the ACC. Louisville, I think, is still in the conversation, but they've got to play Miami, and then they got to play at Clemson. I don't see them winning both of those games. I don't know if they win either of those games. So I don't really think Louisville's going to be there. So now you look at Clemson, SMU, and Miami. SMU, that offense, it's phenomenal. This is a really good team. I had them preseason top 25. After they lost to BYU, I was a little concerned, but all of a sudden now BYU looks like a good football team. And so, yeah, SMU, very dangerous. Clemson, kind of a sluggish performance against Florida State. They did what they needed to do against a desperate Florida State team. And then let's talk about Miami. So how about the comeback? This team just keeps doing it. 2 weeks in a row, they've come from behind. Cam Ward just would not let his team lose. Being an Auburn fan, and I'm not comparing Cam Ward to Cam Newton, but just the way he kind of willed his team to victories was kind of like Cam Newton would do at Auburn in 2010. So again, Cam Ward is not Cam Newton. He is not as good as Cam Newton, but he maybe has more talent around him than Cam Newton had at Auburn. But it just kind of reminded me of the way that he just willed this team to a victory. So Miami, close calls, but they're winning. And again, their schedule's not horrible. I don't think they can run the table. If they keep playing like this, they're going to slip up and lose a game or two somewhere. They got Louisville on the road. They got Georgia Tech on the road. Those are two that I'm kind of looking at. But I still think they're in great shape. So what's going to happen? Clemson, Miami, SMU, who goes to the ACC championship? I have no idea. And if you've been good at predicting games this year, it's not because you've been good at analyzing and figuring things out. It's because you're lucky. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's how this season has gone. But hats off to you if you have been picking these games correctly. Again, I give you a lot of credit, but there is definitely some luck involved because it has just been a crazy season so far. Final takeaway, Army and Navy are 5-0. I haven't watched a single play from either one of these teams, so I don't really have anything to say, but I just wanted to acknowledge it. Again, I'm trying to keep up with the Power 4 teams, trying to keep up with as many games as I can. I try to watch 3 games at once, and what I do is I don't watch them live. I'm going back, I'm fast-forwarding commercials, I'm fast-forwarding even in between plays, trying to watch every play from 3 games from each time slot. And so that gets you 9 games and then the late night game. And then I try to see the teams if they play on Thursday or Friday. So I'm trying to get all the information that I can from all these teams. But when you do that, I mean, there's just no time to watch Army or Navy, at least at this point. We'll start, there'll be games that really don't matter in the playoff conversation or the conference race conversation. And there'll be games that we can just kind of pass on as we get into the season. And then maybe that opens the door to watch some of these games from the group of 5 teams where those teams are in contention, or maybe I can catch them on the weeknight games. We'll see. But yeah, just wanted to acknowledge Army, Navy, both 5-0, and they are both. There is that conversation. What happens if if one of them is in the playoff when the field is announced, and then they still play that Army Navy game, and that team were to lose? Well, I think the committee's just not going to evaluate the Army-Navy game. It's almost like it's not a regular season game. I guess that's how you would look at that. But we'll talk about that more if it looks like it could be a real possibility. But yeah, just shout out to Army-Navy, and just keep enjoying this season. Is this what we're going to get from now on with the transfer portal, with the NIL era, with the 12-team playoff, with the conference realignment, all these changes? To me, if this is what we get from all that, I'm in favor of it because it has given us some great college football to watch. Give me your takeaways for Week 6 down in the comments below.